Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Boo Luminary. It's that time of year, my favorite time of the year, Halloween time, and this is the first project I'm assembling for 2022, and it's a really cool little piece. We really love putting together, things that light up for Halloween, especially for Halloween. So there's 3 little lanterns, and they spell Boo from both sides. So a few things that we need to pay attention to. I sort of have everything kind of lined up for me, just so that I don't goof up. But what we're going to do here, the first part is the part with the bats. You'll also notice that there's a little mark there. It's a Roman numeral 1. Okay, so these pieces are going to go together, and we can actually begin by putting this little panel down. So again, 1 is going to connect to 1. There's 4 other pieces. 2 have Roman numeral 2s and 2 have Roman numeral 3s. So you want to keep those all together. But let's begin by putting the little panel on the side. This is the, there's a face, there's a back, and then there's 2 sides. This is going to be on the side of our little luminary. And you want to put this down, make sure that you have an even border on all 4 sides for this. Pop that into place, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to go through all of them, all 3. The process is going to be pretty much the same for all of them. The only difference is the actual letters and the shape at the top. So it's either a bat, a ghost, or a scarecrow, okay? And to put this together, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some glue on one of these tabs here. So just pick one, doesn't matter which side, because we're gonna have to do this twice. Put a little bit of glue on the tab. I'm gonna spread that glue out to the very edge, and we'll pop that down on our surface, grab the other half, and pop that into place, line it up nice and even, and press that down. And you can take it and fold it over onto itself. There's a couple cues, well actually mostly just one cue here. This tab right here, this angle right here should match up with the tab behind it. And that's a good indicator that you have it lined up correctly. Okay, next, we're gonna take and close this up. So we'll apply glue to the other tab, just like that. Again, I'm going to spread it out to the very edge. I'll put that down on my surface, bring this over, and press that down into place, like so. Okay. Now I don't want to close it up just yet, because what we're going to do next is we're going to actually put together the main piece here that's going to go on the face of that. So first things first, let me move this out of the way, and we're going to kind of do this in layers. Now while this is flat, first thing we need to do is put our vellum in place, and we're going to put it on the surface so that the inside looks nice and clean when we're all done with it. So go easy on the glue here. Focus the glue around just the cutout where the letter's going to go, and just try to center it. It'll all be hidden away. Whoops. That was a close one. Okay, and don't do what I just did. I almost goofed up. I almost put the B on top of the O. I was wondering why it wasn't looking right. Okay, so don't do that. I'm gonna start again here. So the first letter in the word boo, on one side it's a B, and on the other side it's an O, so that it says boo from either side. So you definitely want to make sure that you don't make that same mistake I almost made here. Okay, because this cutout here is specifically made for the letter. Okay, and the letter in this case is the letter O. Okay, so let's get that lined up nice and accurate. I'm going to start with the bat first, make sure the top is nice and centered, and then I'll press that down and press down the center as well. That looks good. Let's take a look. Looks good. and just run your finger along the entire perimeter. Okay, next, we're gonna grab this piece, and that's gonna go on like so, just like that. And then we've got that thin little area to create that nice little border. So we do need to get some glue on that. And it's a lot of real estate to work on and work with. So we do want to make sure that we try to be as efficient as possible here. If we happen to not be able to get it glued down in one fell swoop, we can always go in and clean things up. And I'll show you how to do that if necessary. There we go. Just do your best to get it aligned as accurately as you can. Okay, take a look at your work here, and that looks pretty good. Now, I always like to have a bunch of these, and this is just little pieces of cardstock that I've cut from scrap, and I use that to do my little painting if I have any little areas here that may need a little extra TLC. So I noticed that little corner right there, I just didn't get quite enough glue on there. I'm gonna go ahead and just paint a little bit of glue right under that and press it down. And that is that, okay? So next, what we can do is start putting together the pumpkin, okay? So this is the next piece that's gonna go on. It's gonna go on just like this, nice and centered. We've got that little cutout in the center to help us with the positioning of everything. So definitely use that to your advantage. Okay. And of course we need to put a little bit of glue on the center as well. And again, use that as your initial guide. Make sure that's all lined up. And then of course, the actual cutout, the inside here, is also helpful in making sure that you've got everything aligned properly. This is going to be a very sturdy, very durable piece. Okay, next we've got the pumpkin, this part here, and it's the wider piece. Okay, we got to get that in place, so let's do that. This is actually Easter paper. Interesting. Didn't even realize that. Didn't even look at the back of it. Okay, let's get this in place. And again, we're going to use the center as our guide. And then also, we obviously have the shape of the pumpkin there as well. Okay, so we've got that in place. I'm going to grab the smaller piece now. That's going to go on the inside. And that's just to kind of give it a two-tone sort of look, add some dimension, make it more interesting. And, well, just to make it more realistic. Okay, get that in place. And again, just line up that. I'm looking at the center part first and the cutout for the letter, just making sure that's all nice and accurately lined up. And then press that down. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so now can put our little stem in place. That's going to go right here, like so. Let's flip that over, get our glue applied. Nice and easy. This is a pretty delicate piece, so we don't need a lot of glue. Okay. And just pop that into place. Should fit like a little puzzle right up against the top of the pumpkin. And then we have this little piece that's going to go right up on top. The thicker part of it is going to be over on the right-hand side, thinner part on the left. Just make sure it's nice and flush with the top of the stem, like so. And then finally, we're going to put our bat in place, and that's going to fit like a little puzzle as well. And you should have a nice little border going all the way around our bat as well. And we'll get that into place. This is actually a thinner cardstock. Who makes that? That's Graphic 45. Feels kind of thin for Graphic 45. I don't know why. Okay, and again, Just pop it on there like a little puzzle. Should hug the stem. Here we go. Just pop that right into place. There it is. Perfect. Okay, so that's one side of the first lantern, and that looks really cool, actually. Okay, so now we're going to flip this over, and we're going to repeat the same process with the letter B. So you can see that I've got some dried up glue here because goofy me tried to put the letter B on the O side, so don't make that mistake. I don't think I edited that out at all. I might have edited out the mistake, but I don't think I edited out the fact that I did it. And I mentioned that I did it. So don't be goofy like me. Oh, and of course, I'm already kind of forgetting things here. We got to get our vellum in place. So let's do the vellum first. Now, you know what might help to do if you have a big enough work area. I'm not doing it right now because I can't show you everything on one screen without being really like zoomed out, like intensely. And I don't want to do that. But if you have a large work area, which I actually do, but like I said, I can't show it all on camera, maybe a good idea to kind of do like a assembly line. So what I mean by that is put your vellum on first, then move over to putting on the green piece on everything, then the next layer, and the next layer, and the next layer, and so on, until you've got everything in place. Okay, so that looks really good. So we've got that layer in place, the vellum is in place, and now we're going to go to this piece. And as I mentioned, the process is going to be identical for every single lantern here, as far as the order in which you do or place each piece. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And we are going to go in numeric order here. Make sure you get a little bit of glue around the perimeter. The cool thing about the perimeter here is if the glue squeezes out to the outside, it's not going to blemish anything because there's nothing there. Okay, so I'm going to get the bat in place first. Take a look at my corners, and then check out the B. Make sure that's all in place, and then press that down. Perfect. It's going to take a little practice to get this. There's a lot of little areas that need to be precisely aligned, but you can do it. I have no doubt about it. Okay, looking good. Next up is this guy here. Okay, so let's get this guy in place. Didn't need to ink any of this as far as the pumpkin goes until we get to the pattern pieces. Okay, so if you're concerned about inking, don't worry about this. And I think once you have this on display at night with the light shining through, it's probably going to overshadow any inking that you do anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Okay, so again, I'm using the letter, the cutout on the inside as my guide for placement. This part here first, and then I can kind of give that a nudge on the inside. Make sure I have all that in the right spot, and then naturally you'll end up with a nice even border all the way around. Next, we grab the wide part of the pumpkin with the pattern papers. Okay, and I think I may need to clean out my glue nozzle here. It's acting a little clogged. There it goes. Okay. Now with this, you've got this the little butt of the pumpkin at the bottom here. That's a good place to start. Of course, you've got the letters, the letter on the inside, the cutout. That's another great place to focus your attention as you're placing this down. There we have it. And then finally, the smaller part of the pumpkin. I think I got whatever was clogging this thing up out of there. Thank goodness. Okay, there we go. A little bit on the inside. And pop that into place. Again, focusing on the actual letter itself. All right, so just a couple more steps here. We'll grab the stem, throw a little bit of glue on those vertical pieces, not too much, and pop that in there just like a little puzzle. Should fit perfectly. And let's put the little cap on top of it, and then we'll finish it off with our bat, and that is one lantern complete. Not bad. Not bat at all. So yeah, it's August right now. Oh my God, it's not August, it's September. It's my birthday. Boy, it's still been kind of warm, and I know a lot of people on the West Coast are really feeling it. So it doesn't really feel like Halloween right now. So as I put this down, again, it kind of goes on like a little puzzle, but also make sure that the bat's head is nice and centered so that you have a nice even border all the way around. Okay, and then just pop the rest of that in place. Like I said, just like a little puzzle. Okay, there we go. And there's one side, there's the other side. Now we just need to close it up. So what we'll do is flip this over and fold these tabs in and just apply glue to the remaining 3 tabs. I'm gonna go a little bit heavier on the glue here. And I need a little more there. I'll take that, spread it out to the very edges, like so. And then we'll close it up. You want to focus on getting it lined up with this side first. Just get that all the way out to the very edge. Press that down. The rest of it should just kind of fall into place, and you can then flip it over and push down on the tabs from the inside. Okay, so I'd say roughly, I don't know, about 15 minutes for each one of these, and before you know it, it'll be good to go. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so the B on one side and the O on the other is done. I can put that off to the side. And like I mentioned, the rest of this is going to be pretty much the same process. Now, if you take a look on the side here, you'll see this is numbered number 2. I'll move this stuff out of the way. And we'll just kind of continue the same way. We're going to join these 2 sections together first. So go ahead and start applying your glue to one of the tabs here. I'll spread that glue out. Okay, grab the other side, line it up. There's a horizontal line at the bottom here that you can use as a reference. And then of course the top here, you want to make sure that's nice and lined up. Give that a press, fold it over onto itself. And check your line here. That looks good. The side of the angled part of the tab. Press that down. There we go. And then we'll close it up just like we did before. And bring that down. And just press that into place. Make sure the top is nice and lined up. So yeah, today is, it seems that every year on my birthday, I'm working on a Halloween project as a release, which is cool because it's my favorite holiday. And what better holiday to work? I mean, if you're gonna do work, you might as well do something not only that you love, but also a holiday that you love. So let's get the panel in place. And honestly, I told my lovely lady today that that's what I want to do today. I just want to work. I know it sounds silly, but I really enjoy it. Okay, so we're going to put the other panel in place. And speaking of Halloween, definitely one of my favorite holidays. Not only to celebrate, but to decorate for. And we have a 9 and a 10-year-old. I think they're still young enough to trick or treat. I think I was trick or treating through junior high. But then next year, we'll have baby Peyton to take trick-or-treating, so that'll be exciting. Okay, so just like we did with the first box, or the first lantern, first thing we're gonna do is start off by gluing down the vellum. I'm gonna go a little extra with the glue here, like so. And just pop that into place. Just make sure that you cover the entire cutout here for where the letter's gonna go. Obviously, you wanna make sure that that's at least lined up. And then moving on to the next piece, it's gonna be this piece. In my case, it's, what color is this? Also, one other thing you want to pay attention to here on this section is the fact that these are not symmetrical, okay, because they're mirrored. So I want to make sure you grab the right one and that it fits properly. So we'll get that in place. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Peyton will be, he won't even be a year old next year around Halloween. I don't even know what the timetable for that is. As a kid conscious enough to even know what's going on Halloween at that age? I don't think it is. I kind of just think that maybe it's just the parents trying to maybe get some free candy or something, and they're, you know, just parading the kid around all dressed up. But yeah, I know it's silly, but we still enjoy dressing up. I think it's, the kids really like it, so I kind of like it too. Haven't thrown a Halloween party in quite some time though. Mostly because, well, the pandemic and then this and that, and so maybe next year we'll throw a Halloween party. Okay, so that's in place. Okay, now again, as I mentioned, it's going to be kind of important to make sure that we're grabbing the right one here. So obviously that one doesn't fit. We're going to need to grab the other one. So these are the only pieces that we need to worry about as far as lining up correctly. And then obviously the main black part of the ghost. I want to make sure that we get that right. Okay, so just keep on going here. Yeah, I'm curious to know if our audience is the kind that goes to haunted houses during the Halloween season. It's one of our favorite things to do. I'm kind of numb to them at this point because we've been to so many. We've been taking our kids to haunted houses for as long as I can remember, since they were knee-high to a duck, and they love them. They love them a lot. I'm curious if you guys do the haunted house thing, leave a comment and let me know. I'd be curious to know. And if you do haunted houses and you have like a favorite one or something, leave that in the comments too. I'd love to know. I'm curious. Always looking for some cool haunted houses, even if they're out of state. I don't really care. Okay, so next up, we're putting this piece down, just like we did with the first section, or the first lantern. And I think because I'm familiarizing myself with the process, I think this one probably won't take as long, which makes sense. So, you know, hopefully, at the end of the day, I just hope that not every project, obviously there's some projects that are more intense, and we're going to have one of those coming up here in the next release, but it's just nice if you can kind of get in the craft room and get something beautiful made in about an hour or two. I think that's kind of the threshold that I like to aim for. Now, it's not always possible. Okay, so next we're doing this piece, the larger part of the pumpkin. I think you guys know where we're going at this point with the assembly, because again, it's pretty repetitive. But yeah, for those of you that make this, I might spill some beans here. I'll tell you maybe a little something about what we got coming out next. I don't want to say too much, but it will be, I'm probably going to spill the beans anyway, but it's going to be a structure inspired by an Alfred Hitchcock film. I think for those of you that have have seen it, you know exactly what structure I'm talking about. So there you have it. And that has been confirmed. It's already in progress. And we'll be putting that out in a couple weeks. Okay, so we got that section in place. And just like we did before, we got to put the little stem in place. Okay, just like that. Pop that right on top like a little puzzle piece, and then the rest of it should fit perfectly on that little shadow. And then let's obviously need to put the little cap on top. Okay. Make sure it's nice and flush with the top of the stem. If you need to lift it up a little bit just to take a peek, that's fine. And as I mentioned with the ghost, I'm going to make sure that we find the right ghost and that it fits correctly. That one looks like it's kind of off. Let's try this one. And that one, no, it was the first one actually. Just pop that on there, make sure it sits nice and centered and that all of these little elements leave a nice border all the way around. So this is definitely the correct one. And just go easy on the glue with this. It's a pretty delicate little piece, very thin, very light. And you don't need a lot of glue because it's not really doing any work. It's not supporting anything. It's more or less just sitting there. So, all right, pop that in like a little puzzle. Make sure it's centered. And voila, perfect. Okay, so there's one side. Okay, we'll flip her over and start on the second side, beginning with the vellum, obviously. I'll just do a little curly Q here. Just keep the ball rolling. Make sure you cover that entire structure, or the entire cutout, I should say. All right, double check, make sure the ghost fits. I mean, it really doesn't have a choice. It has to kind of fit. Okay, so we have, this piece goes on next. In my case, this is Limeade, AC Limeade. We don't use that color very often until, of course, Halloween season. It's a pretty, it's almost like a, it almost looks like it's glowing in the dark in a way. Okay, so just a little bit of this is sticking out. It's more or less, well, there's one design aspect to it, but this is mostly just to stiffen this thing up and make it nice and strong. Okay, lining up the ghost first. Then I'm taking a look at this section here, making sure that it's nice and flush at the top. Whoops. Bring it back, bring it back. There we go. Perfect. That looks kind of weird. There we go. Get that nice and centered. Perfect. Okay, great. Okay. All right, so pop quiz, what's next? Well, we got this piece. This is going on next. And keep on rolling here. We just have one more of these to put together. It's actually kind of fun, especially after you get the first one down, you know exactly what you're doing. You tend to just kind of go into autopilot, and that is where the magic happens, and your brain gets a break from the crazy of the day. You just kind of relax and zone out. It seems kind of, I don't know, to some people that sounds silly, but I can't tell you how good that is for your brain and your body. I always feel super recharged after being in the craft room putting these projects together, that's for sure. Oops, that is not where it needs to be. There we go. And I just lifted it up real quick and bam. Okay, press that down. That looks good. Okay, next up, we got this part. Obviously now it's kind of dangling there. So just be careful, you don't want to rip it off. We've got a bunch of layers with that little cutout in the center. So I guess technically if one of them does rip off, it's not the end of the world, but we want it to be nice and sturdy on the inside as well. Okay, so I'm looking at the cutout of the letter, the outside part of it first, to make sure that I've got that lined up, especially this little spot right there, where you have that little that little flourish sort of thing, or what do they call that in typography? It's called a, oh boy, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. I'll think of it in a second. Okay, next up, we got this piece, just as we did the last time. Now with the ghost, you'll notice that the letter on both sides is O, where with the scarecrow and the, what's the other guy? The bat, the letters are kind of flip-flopped, okay? Again, focusing on this part of the letter, especially that little point right there. I think they're called glyphs, but it's actually not even a glyph because it's just part of the letter itself, but you get what I'm saying. Just that special little part of the letter is a great place to focus to make sure that you get everything properly aligned. Okay, so we got the next one here. There we go. I'm going to focus on the same exact thing. That outside part of the letter first. Just make sure that's lined up correctly, and then focus on the inside and press that down. There we go. Perfect. Wonderful. Okay. So again, that just leaves our stem and the cap, and then our ghost. And 2 of 3 are done. I got a feeling that you're going to know exactly what to do on that third one, and then you're probably going to leave me early. Parting. We're going to depart now. Hopefully not. Maybe I need to tell a couple more stories or something. We'll see. Yeah, maybe I'll tell you a story about the first time I went to a haunted house when we start the third one here. Okay, so you can see that fits in there nicely. Just make sure you keep that head nice and centered. You want to maintain that lovely little border all the way around. Okay, and then finally we just need to close this thing up. You can see that I haven't actually constructed the box because it's so much easier to work on things like this while they're flat, especially when you're constantly pressing things down. It really can really avoid damaging or warping or doing anything crazy to your piece before it's all complete. So that's always a benefit. Okay, so there you go. There we have it. On 2 sides we have the O and the O, and just like we did before, we'll close these tabs or push them in and apply glue to all 3 of these tabs. And I'll spread that glue out to the very edge. I need a little extra there. There we go. Bring that down all the way to the bottom. Okay, and let's close it up. Focus on this side here. So we'll take this edge and line it up with this side. Doing that pretty much naturally gets the other 2 sides to line up. You can pop that down and press down from the inside. And there we have it. Okay, there's our second one. And if you have someone named Bo, you could do that. Or if you make 2 more of these and put an O here and a B here, you could pull a prank on someone. All right, so let's get started with the last one. Okay, so that just leaves the last piece here, or the third lantern. Again, you have a Roman numeral 3 here and a Roman numeral 3 here. So I can move this out of the way for now. And just like we did the first 2 times, I'm going to begin by connecting these 2 sections together like that. I'll spread that glue out to the very edges of the tabs. And just get that connected. There we go. And again, I'm going to fold it over onto itself. Make sure the top is nice and aligned. There we go. Okay. Grab the other part of the tab, or other part of the box, I should say. And there we go. Pop that down. And press that into place. There we go. Fold it over onto itself on this seam. Press that down. That way it also kind of trains it to sit flat, which means that it will be more symmetrical. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these panels on just like we did. So I don't know if I've told this story before, but there's always new people, and sometimes people don't watch projects, but I am actually, so I'm a Polish immigrant, came here when I was like came here when I was about 3 years old, maybe 2. Actually, it was probably like 3 or 4, and well, you know, they didn't really celebrate Halloween in Poland, and we were actually at an Austrian refugee camp before we came to the States, and yeah, it was just kind of craziness when I was young. But anyway, so the first year I went to a Catholic school, and I made this project. Okay, so we've got the side panels on. I'll continue with my story here in a second. Just looking at this, I can tell right now that also on the scarecrow, he's also not symmetrical. You can see one side, his little clothing there kind of drapes down a little bit lower. So we want to make sure that we grab the right pieces. Okay, I think I got everything lined up correctly here, but I'm going to double check just to be sure. But we're going to do the vellum first, just like we've been doing, and we'll keep on cruising here. So anyway, kindergarten, I remember this, it was like a cross-stitch project where they gave us this plastic cross-stitch thing. It was just like a piece of plastic with a bunch of squares in it, and there's a pattern. You had to make a pumpkin, and I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the color. I don't know. It just sounded cool, and from that moment on, I was just kind of like hooked, because we learned about Halloween, and they told us what it was all about, and I was like, wow, free candy. I can go door to door, all this cool stuff. And you know, my parents were straight off the boat, as they say. You know, barely spoke a word of English, and I asked them if I could go trick-or-treating, and well, they just didn't know what it was, so they didn't trust me to do it, and I was just so disappointed. And I think kind of I'm going to put this in place. I'm lining up the scarecrow first, and then I'm going to take a look at the top here where it meets the purple structure. Okay, so just make sure you get that lined up accurately. So I was hooked, because you know, sometimes things you can't have, you want even more, and the rest is history. But okay, so next we're going to put this piece on. Again, this is, I'm going to try not to repeat myself here, because obviously you can see what I'm doing, and we've already done this a number of times. I've actually done it 4 times now. This is the 5th time we're doing the same thing. So, but yeah, so one of the first times I went to a haunted house was probably, oh boy, I'd say 15 years ago. I didn't go to one. I mean, I've been to like little small ones that were done by, you know, like football teams at the local high school or things like that. But one of those really cool commercial ones where, you know, they even have actual ads that are terrifying. I must have watched that ad a million times. I was probably in my 20s. I think it was during a time where I was kind of going through some mental things, and I just wanted to do it, but it was so terrifying. Actually, the experience wasn't terrifying. It was just myself psyching myself out that was terrifying. So I kind of, you know, that's a lesson, I guess. You know, there's nothing to fear but fear itself, as they say, and you can kind of create your own anxiety in your head by worrying about things that really don't exist. And I don't know, I'm not sure why I was terrified by it, because, oh, by the way, also make sure that when you're putting this on there, you're not putting the O on the B side. This is one of the ones where you have to make sure
that you get the correct letter on the correct side, because it's a B on one side and an O on the other side. So be careful and aware of that. But as I was saying, yeah, I think, and after that, well, there were some parts of that haunted house, for those of you that haven't been to any, they have this little thing where it's basically just a giant plastic, I don't know, it's, what would you call it? Like a bladder, maybe? And they fill it up with air, and you have to get through it by just kind of pushing through it, and you feel very claustrophobic. I remember experiencing that for the first time, and that was terrifying. And then, of course, strobe lights, they really mess with your brain, and you kind of feel disoriented. And then the one thing that I hated at first, they have this contraption where you're walking on this platform, and completely all the way around, up, down, left, right, it's like you're walking through this vortex. There's these series of lights that are constantly spinning completely around you under this platform, and it is the most disorienting thing if you're not used to it. Now, when I do it, I just remember the first few times I would almost close my eyes because I just felt so weird in there. But now, when I encounter that part of a haunted house, I really just soak it in. So anyway, I'm telling you that because, well, you know, as they say, face your fears, because things aren't really that bad. They're not as bad as we make them out to be. So anyway, all right, so you can see just going through the same process here, getting the stem in place just like a little puzzle. Okay, and we'll pop the little top of the stem in place, like so. And there we go. Make sure it's nice and flush with the top of the stem. And then finally, we have our actual scarecrow. Take a look and just make sure that when you pop him in there, he looks like he fits, and he does. Okay, so you can see how his little shirt, or whatever you want to call it, fits into the little shadow area of the purple part. In my case, purple. Yours might be a different color. I'm not sure. You could maybe try putting the other one on there, and it may work, but just make sure you get the right one in there. Okay, just like a little puzzle, pop them in there. Make sure that the border is nice and even all the way around, and voila, the little tip of the hat there, I did not get any glue on that, so I just put a little bit of glue on a scrap piece of paper and just pop a little bit underneath there, press it down, voila, there it is. And that just leaves one more side. It's kind of fun now. As you can see, I was kind of quiet first go around on the first one, but now that you know the pattern, you're confident, you probably don't even need to listen to me do this anymore. You can probably do this on your own. Okay, don't forget vellum. Make sure that you do in fact have it covering the entire cutout of the letter. And moving on to this piece here, we'll flip it over. And there we go. And just try to make sure you get glue on the his little stick hands. Okay, and now this is the other side. This one has the O on it. So just make sure you've got the right letter. This is the only letter left at this point, so I don't think you can mess this up. Okay, I'm going to focus on the actual scarecrow here at the top. Make sure that's even, and then of course the top section. Make sure that's even and flush with the top of the lantern. Press that down and press down the little cutout as well. I feel like that part is probably the most, well, maybe this one's a little more challenging. Let's get this one in place because we are on the home stretch here, and I cannot wait to put a little light in here and take photos of this thing. It's going to look really cool all lit up. Okay, here we go. Little curly Q around the main part of where the pumpkin's going to be. Don't forget the little border. Make sure you get some glue on that. And then of course the little cutout for the letter. And I'm going to look at my scarecrow first, and then bring it down and look at the outer cut of the letter, and then the inner cut. That looks good. Press that down. Amazing how you build your confidence when you get good at things and you do them over and over again. Okay, next piece, as usual, and I am sweating bullets here, guys. It is so warm out lately. I haven't really been complaining about it until I get under, well, it's about 1,500 watts of lights in here. Would love to go LED someday. It'll probably help. Okay, I'm going to focus on the little cutout, outer cutout of the letter, especially that this little guy here. And then make sure the center goes in the right spot. Press that down. Perfect. Outer part of the pumpkin is next. So anyway, yeah, tell me about your haunted house experiences in the comments. I'd love to hear about that. And if you recommend any, even if they're out of state, I'd love to hear about that. Again, focusing on the outer cut of the letter. That's the most important thing. And that little section there, it's a great guide. And then the center, of course. Press that down. There we go. And last part of the pumpkin here. And as I'm putting the glue on here, I'm trying to focus on making sure that I get it out to as close to the perimeter as I can. Okay, looking at that spot right there. You can see how everything just kind of falls into place. Oh, one thing I really am looking forward to doing with the new boy, and I'm not sure when he's going to be old enough to appreciate it, and hopefully I don't see them ever taking it down, but definitely need to take him to the Haunted Mansion at Disney World. Okay, so there's the stem. Let's get the cap on. And finally, we'll get our scarecrow in place. There it is. Just like that. Okay, putting the finishing touch on here. I missed the tip of his hat last time, so I want to make sure that I get that nice and easy on the glue here. Very thin. Don't need to overdo it. And just pop him into place. Make sure he's nice and centered there. Okay, and to finish this off, we'll fold this in and put our glue on the remaining tabs. I almost said like 3 and remaining all in one. Okay, spread that glue out to the very edge of the tabs, just like that, and there we go. Again, focus on getting it aligned with this side here. Nice and even, nice and straight. Should go all the way out to the edge. The two sides should just fall into place. Flip her over, press down from the inside, and that is going to do it for our Boo Luminary. I'm going to take and apply some rhinestones or some pearls in these little corners here. And that's pretty much it. It's ready to be lit up. So anyway, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed the process here. Oh, wait a minute. That just says, oh. Where are we at here? Bow. Oboe. There we go. So you got Boo there and Boo there from both sides. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and visit us on our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit that little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it. And so would our almost 40,000 group members. So head over to Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you see here at the bottom of your screen. So happy Halloween crafting, happy hauntings, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.
Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.